If you're looking at driving a Tesla, and if you can't afford one, or if you can't get one, which is increasingly common these days, maybe you want to get one, subscribe to one, or get one under a subscription model. I'm going to talk to Scott Pater, who's the founder and CEO of Autonomy, which has just launched that very service. So welcome to the interview, Scott.
Thanks for having me.
Now, I want to make a point here. I interview many experts all around the world about innovation in the electric vehicle space, or various kinds of the electrification space, let's call it. And very often what I find is that it's not just the technology that constitutes an innovation, it's the business model. And that seems to be, I think on your website you called it car as a service. Could you explain what that is, please?
Sure. Well, at Autonomy, we fundamentally believe that one of the real barriers to mass adoption of electrification is going to be affordability. So certainly what is being made is going to be a barrier. If the car isn't made, you're not going to be able to drive one. So, we agree with you that innovation is important in this space, but when you look at an electric car, it costs 20 to 40% more than its internal combustion engine counterpart. There's just more technology, batteries cost more. And as such, what we're focused on is bringing those vehicles to customers on a flexible basis and doing it for less money than they would otherwise have to spend on an internal combustion engine vehicle.
How does your subscription model differ from a car share model?
Well, car share is really about hourly, and car share is going to probably cost you about 10 times more per hour than a subscription. A subscription is really designed to be a flexible term, month-to-month access to an electric vehicle. And it tends to be really for those who might have a little bit of range anxiety, concern about battery life, concern about charging infrastructure. So all of the things attendant with a new technology that people have fears around are a good reason to try something on a subscription. There's no commitment. In a subscription, you're not buying a car and you're not borrowing money. So it's a lot easier. It happens entirely on your phone. It's totally digital. Car sharing is really about using something in a local market for a very short period of time. And while it might be $30 or $40 or $50 an hour, that would be prohibitive if you're going to keep the car for 3, 6, 9, 12 months.
Walk us through how this works. So if I'm going to want to be a subscriber, how do I do it? How does the car arrive? When do I give it back to you? That sort of thing.
Sure. It's very simple. If you go to autonomy.com, you can learn everything about subscriptions from Autonomy, and you simply install the app. We're going to ask for two things. One, a scan of your valid driver's license, and two, a credit card to go ahead and make the reservation. Those are the two things we need to give you a car. We need to make sure that you do have a valid, not suspended driver's license. You also have to have a pretty good driving record. We're not going to give a car to somebody who's got either a reckless driving history or a DUI or a felony arrest. All of those are knockouts. And part of that is because we still own the car. You're going to be driving our car, and we want to make sure we're putting the right people behind the wheel of the car. The second thing is, because we're not lending you money, you can pay for your subscription on your credit card. You cannot pay for a car loan or a car lease on a credit card because by law, you can't pay debt with debt. So this is a uniquely easy way to get access to a car. And if you've got a credit card and a valid driver's license, that's all you're going to need.
Okay, so I go on the app and I give you that information and you approve me, and now I'm subscribed. What happens next?
You're going to go ahead and schedule either a pickup of the vehicle at one of our local garages. We've partnered with AutoNation on a national basis, so you'll be able to go to a local AutoNation dealership. There's one within about 10 miles of every American. They've got 309 dealership locations around the country and about another 15 AutoNation USA stores. So you go to one of their locations, you'll already have the app installed on your phone. You'll have a QR code telling you what time to show up. We also are now doing home delivery in California. So if you don't want to go anywhere, the car can come right to your driveway. As soon as the car shows up, you activate your subscription by signing for it with your finger on your phone. You're in subscription. You keep it for as long as you want or as little as you need it for. There's no penalty for returning it. There is a 3-month minimum. And part of that is because we work out to be about $20 a day versus Hertz or Turo, which might be $100 to $125 a day for a Tesla Model 3. So this is 5 times cheaper than a rental. Like I said, about 10 times cheaper than car sharing. And The real intention here is to make it happen 100% on your phone. It's a totally digital transaction, and you get to drive the car, use it for as long as you want, and then when you're done, just simply schedule a return.
So, okay, so $20 a day times, if I were going to finance that, that would be $600 a month. I couldn't finance a Tesla Model S or a Y or even a 3 for $600 a month. How do you manage to charge rates that low?
Because we're not actually financing the whole purchase price of the car. So the entire business model is about keeping the car in service with multiple subscribers over its useful life. So we keep that car rolling for between 5 and 7 years. And in a regular car loan, you're having to finance the entire purchase price of the car. The Tesla Model 3, by way of example, is our launch product. We're now into the Model Y. We've just put in a very, very big order for 23,000 cars from 17 different manufacturers. So you're going to have a lot of choice when you go to autonomy coming forward here. But that Tesla Model 3 is about a $50,000 car. If you were going to get a traditional car loan, you'd have to pay your tax when you purchase a car. And a 3-year car loan for $50,000 would mean that you're spending close to $1,500 a month. So you're right, this does represent a pretty significant savings. And the reason is you're just not purchasing a car and you're not borrowing money. And then we're going to utilize that car over multiple subscribers.
Now, I've interviewed, a number of economists about the economics of driving an electric vehicle. And one of the points that they make is the more you drive it, the cheaper the cost per kilometer. And does that kind of figure into your calculations about what you charge?
Well, it's interesting. We're at a pretty interesting moment in time for automotive. We're going through this radical transformation to electric. Right now, you've got 300 million non-electric cars on American roads, less than 2 million electric cars on American roads. So we are still at the very early innings of all of this, but you could not ask for bigger forces at work. Nobody could have anticipated that gasoline, for example, would go from 4 to 5 to 6, and in some places, $7 a gallon. The average American is driving a 20 mile per gallon internal combustion engine car, 1,000 miles a month. That means you're putting nearly $4,000 into your gas tank every year. And even if you live in California, where we've got very expensive electricity at 19 cents a kilowatt hour, you're going to be going those same miles for about $400. So it is 1/10 the price whenever you get up over $5 or $6.
So if I wanted to, can I rent it for the entire month and year over year, and then pay you the $600? And I mean, that would be a bargain for me if I did that.
It is a month to month. You can keep it for as long as you want. You can cancel it at any time. We do require a 3-month minimum though. So if you're thinking about just doing this for a month, you might want to go rent the car at $100 a day. That's going to be $3,000. With us, you're going to have to go for the 3 full months at $500 a month. You're going to be spending, up and until the end of that first month, about the same amount. But from there, a subscription just starts to make so much sense.
Okay. So if I take it for 3 days, let's say, then how do you arrive at the cost per day that I'm charged?
Yeah, we are not a good solution for a 3-day use of a Tesla Model 3. We are focused on medium-term use of greater than 3 months up to about 1.5 years. Our average customer will likely hold this car for 2 to 2.5 years. And then when they're done, they'll return it. But everybody's sort of need for a vehicle is a little bit different. Whether you're in the military and you need to go on deployment, you might be a college student and you want to be able to come home for the summer and not have a car sort of sitting idle that whole time. You might be a consultant working in another city. You actually might just be a parent who's starting a family and you want to go from one type of vehicle to another type of vehicle.
Gotcha. Now I understand. I still had that car share model stuck in my head. All right. So this is more like instead of owning the car, you subscribe to the car.
That's
gotcha.
Correct. This is a modern form of ownership. It happens all on your phone and it's just a lot easier.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's talk about your business model because President Biden signed the Inflation Reduction Act just last week. A lot of money in there for electrification of transportation, and we see a lot of the automakers are all in on electric. So we're assuming that over the next few years we're going to see a bigger supply coming from the manufacturers. So the purpose of this is to electrify transportation and light duty cars as quickly as possible. How quickly can you scale this up?
Well, there is a production issue, right? You've got 17 different car makers that have announced 38 different make, model, trims of car to be produced over the next 12 to 18 months. And everybody's got different volumes. You've got incumbent manufacturers like General Motors that are coming out with the Bolt. They at the high end have the Cadillac Lyriq, the Hummer EV, the Chevy Corvette. They've also got the Silverado and the Blazer. Then you've got Ford that's looking at producing at very, very large scale, the Mach-E, the Ford F-150 Lightning. The Ford F-150 is the most mass-produced vehicle in the world today. So you've got, I think, some really big high volume entrants. And then conversely, you have some of these new car companies like Lucid that are going to be making hundreds of cars a quarter. So very small production batches. Polestar is in the thousands. Fisker is going to be in the thousands as well. You've got neat new companies like Rivian and Tesla. I mean, Tesla is just, by far the whale in the space. They are the most at-scale mass-produced electric car on planet Earth. Last year, Tesla made over 500,000 Model 3s and over 500,000 Model Ys. This year, they're targeting closer to 750,000 of each. That'll mean that Tesla's got close to 80% market share, and that's going to be the case for a while.
So can I take from your comments that your scaling up of your model will depend on how quickly the manufacturers can scale up the supply of EVs?
Exactly. Now, there's two issues for us. One is geographic footprint, and the other is product lineup. The product lineup that we've announced with that 23,000 car order means that we're going to start to see cars coming into our fleet over the next 60 to 90 days, but it's not going to be all those cars at the same time. I've been talking to CEOs of car makers and fleet managers about which cars we're going to get and when. It's going to get more exciting over the next 12 to 18 months, but initially it's going to be, we're going to expand outside of the Tesla lineup only, and we're starting to see other cars.
Any chance that you're going to be expanding into Canada? I know a lot of my Canadian viewers are probably, asking that question.
Canada is a natural fit for us, both, anywhere in Canada or even into Mexico. We see a really good product market fit, but Canada especially. I think you've also got good EV registrations in some of the big cities like Vancouver and Toronto, and that's really where you're going to see us go first. We're not going to try to convince consumers in rural areas that maybe aren't as easily convinced that electric is the right idea yet, but we do believe electric adoption is going to emerge everywhere, but it's going to definitely start in these big cities.
Well, Scott, this is fascinating. We'll watch the progress of your company over the next couple of years, maybe have you back to see how you're doing. Thank you very much for this.
Markham, thank you so much.